What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Mind of a Man podcast. My name is James Bush, and I am your manversationist. I'm also a licensed professional counselor. I'm in a bunch of states. Care not to mention right now: Nevada, Tennessee, almost Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Kentucky, and probably more to come in 2022. And again, like I said, I'm a podcast host. This podcast platform is based on having conversations, needed conversations for men. We bring show guests on in various fields, and we hit it from somewhat of a therapeutic perspective. So tonight is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about, and I know, happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys, or happy Turkey Day, or whatever kind of, or happy Indigenous People Day. But I'm just trying to be respectful to all those who celebrate and walks of faith on perspectives and beliefs. But today we're going to have a little different conversation. Sexual compatibility. Where did I get this from? Well, a number of different places. One, again, like I said, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and there are times when I work with different clientele, family members, especially guys who complain that they're not having a lot of sex with their significant others, their wives, their ladies. Happens like that sometimes. I get it. So then we started breaking down. It's like, why is this happening? And at first, when I first started in my career, I started looking at it and I just said, man, I guess nobody is sexually compatible because there will always be these similar complaints. She doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do this. She doesn't. He doesn't. She doesn't. He doesn't. I mean, the list goes on. And it kind of gets somewhat sickening at points and times because, I mean, it just seems like there's no solution. So as I started to go on through my career, I started to realize that as humans, we do evolve. What we wanted at 22 is not the same thing we'll possibly want at 32, and so on and so forth. And so then we start to look at it, and people do evolve. And now I'm gonna play you this clip because I have a podcast coming out tomorrow, which will be on YouTube and all other popular podcasting platforms. Subscribe, the link will be somewhere soon when I upload it. And she's a Dr. Jacqueline Sherman. She's a sexologist and an intimacy coach. And she brought up a good point. And I'm going to see if I want to play it for you guys real quick. All right. Is there anything such as sexually incompatible?
I would not say someone is sexually incompatible until they put in the work. As people will come to me and say, me and my partner are sexually incompatible. Okay, well, have y'all talked about you all's turn-ons and turns-offs? Have you all had dialogue around what it is that you want and need? Have you all talked about the expectations around sex? And typically the answer is no, right? So they are in the physical act of having sex, but they're not doing the work that's necessary to really understand your partner's body and what they want and need in their mind as well. The mind is the most powerful sexual organ. And so I would say two people are sexually incompatible if they've done that work, but typically people are not there yet. They just give up way too soon.
Is there anything such as... And so that is something that I noticed, is that a lot of time people, they haven't put into the process, or they haven't done the work to actually find out what that other partner needs. And it's just like anything, it just doesn't happen by osmosis. You have to work at it. You have to kind of have those conversations. You have to, just take time. But we're in a microwave generation where we don't want to wait for minute rice. So we have some of the things that we have now, and we have this idea or this illusion that maybe the guy next door or the lady down the street or the porn star around the corner may do it for us. So what I did was I said, let me get 3 quick tools on, I guess, Turkey Day that we can kind of work with. And I put it in the form of T, and we're going to have T. T stands for talk, E stands for execute, and E stands for evaluate. So first we're going to say talk. What we got to do is we got to find a way to get solid on what we're looking for, what we desire, what are our beliefs, values, ideas. Before we start to talk to our respective partners about some of these things, about sex and positions and all the nuances of it, we had to find out, what do we believe? Many of us African Americans, we've been growing up in the Black church or any other religious affiliations, and they have their own ideas about what sex amounts to. I mean, think about it back in the 80s and the 90s and how all that stuff played out. So what I'm saying is that you have to get solid on what do you believe? What are your desires? What do you own? What not? And when you are solid and solidified in that, oh yeah, and let me rewind it. And even in that moment, sometimes you may have to go and talk to a therapist or a coach or a counselor. Why? Well, I'll say a therapist or a clinician. Why? Because maybe if you had sexual trauma as a young man or something like that, then it is important for you to go and work on that because possibly your whole idea of sex is warped from then on. So it's very important that you go and have these discussions, have these conversations, and work on that internally first. That's the first conversation. Then next is talking to your respective partner. I mean, it's very important. It's it's not a one-off too, and I want to put that out. And some people may ask, what is a one-off? A one-off is basically a one-time deal where you have this one presentation. You remember at school where you had this one conversation, this one presentation once a year, and you never saw that person again till maybe when you were in third grade or fourth grade or fifth grade or whatever have not. This is something that has to be continuously discussed. We're talking about sex here. We're talking about intimacy. These things have to be discussed and fleshed out over and over and over again. Why? Because one, it's fun, and two, you learn something about the other person. It's one of those things where you don't want to go and just be shooting aimlessly. You want to know how to hit the bullseye. How do you hit the bullseye? By knowing what the bullseye is, and that comes with conversation. That comes with having these discussions. What I found is that when people don't have these conversations or when they don't have these discussions, then they go around and they possibly don't hit the bullseye. And then when things don't work out in the latter run, then they feel like there's a level of rejection. I've tell you a quick story. I had a client or had a guy that I know that at one point in time had a beautiful family. He was married maybe about 20, 25 years or so. uh he had faced some level of rejection, I guess maybe around what the 15-year mark or so, or the 20-year mark or anything like that. Wife still loved him, was still into him, was still endearing, but she wasn't really feeling him as she felt him before when they first got married. And the crazy thing about it was, it's not that she didn't want to be sexually active with her husband or anything like that. All it amounted to was she wanted something different. She wanted something different. But because there was no conversation about it, and because he felt that he was rejected, he never pursued what she desired in the long run. And that led to a very rocky situation between the two. So again, you got to talk about these things. Sometimes you have to get outside of yourself. You have to go and share with a clinician or someone who can help you if you have been abused, or if you had some sexual trauma, or if even just cognitively you just feel low in self-esteem in that area. Talk to somebody. Let's get to the next one, which is E. Execute. Execute, execute, execute. Communication without execution is a missed opportunity, and it's a waste of time. So I have the concept of psychology where it talks about the 5 stages of change from Prochaska and DiClemente. And the first they are pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. So what we're talking about right now is the preparation and the action stage. We are preparing. We had the conversation with our significant other. We know what she likes. She knows what we like. And so now we're preparing to do so. How do we prepare? Oh, okay. Maybe you go and you start working out a little bit. You know? Right. You start, having getting your body together. Whether it's sometimes, man, eating a balanced meal, or chocolate, or drinking pineapple juice. Y'all catch that later. Well, things along those lines. You're finding ways to prepare for the moment. If your significant other is into BDSM, what you'll you'll frequent your local novelty shop, or you'll go to Ace Hardware and get some rope. Or Walmart if you want to be on a budget. My point is you're preparing for the moment, and then you're going to execute. There's nothing worse than talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and not actually doing it. You've got to execute. You've got to put it in motion. Those things that you discussed. And again, this doesn't have to be any big, long hurrah. This can be something within the matter of however long length of time you want to, but you got to do it. You got to try. You got to put the practice in. And that's so important. What I found is that sometimes the implementation is the barrier for many couples. Some of them, they go to counseling. They come see me. They come see other therapists out there, or they come see other coaches, but they don't implement what they have learned. That's a problem. It's weird as well, too. It's like, why sit in an hour and a half session, learn about all this stuff? You feel all good inside and all over on the car ride home. You're okay with it, but then you never do anything about it. I never understood that. That doesn't really compute to me. But again, execute, put it into motion, have the discussion, set a time frame, it's like, okay, look, we're going to do this. We're going to try this. And then actually make your significant other a part of the process as you do that. I think it'd be very effective, in the end. Let's go to the last E. The last E is evaluate. Right. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go and get a tripod out and a camcorder or your phone now and tape what you're doing. I'm not saying that at all, but you want to evaluate. How was the experience? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you enjoy what you enjoyed? What was pleasant? What was unpleasant? Is there something that we can do better? Is there something else you want to try? Again, these are conversation tools. What it's doing is helping us learn more about the other person, which again, this is how we help build sexual compatibility. Sitting on our hands and not having these type of discussions or not talking at all is not going to do it. I'm sorry. And it doesn't work like that. Not talking at all, what that does is it pretty much makes castles within your mind. You start to think, or you start to have these ideas about other things as opposed to the main thing, which is the person that you're with. Fantasies, ideas, overgeneralizations. It's not even worth it. Have a conversation, talk to them, evaluate it. What did work? What can I do better? And then even so in your own self, you know what you can do better. You know what you can work on. That's the most important thing. And it comes with, I think, for guys or so, our egos. Because somewhere in, I guess, history, or that we were supposed to be these magical or wonderful lovers, and we're supposed to have this all downloaded from heaven, that we're supposed to know everything. I don't know about that one. Because you do know that every individual is different. Some people like this, some people like that, some people like this, some people like that. You got to have a conversation to find that out. And just because they don't like it yesterday doesn't mean they're not going to like it tomorrow. That's why you got to continue to talk, that kind of thing. So again, we're going to recap it. We're going to start it off with a T. T-E-E. Talking, executing, and evaluating. We're talking so we learn not only about ourselves and what we want, but what the other individual wants as well too. We're executing. We got to implement it. We got to put the practice in. And then lastly, we got to evaluate it. What did we do? Did we do anything? Was it great? Or was it a cold ham sandwich on a Saturday night? I don't know. But it's worth finding out. It's worth discovering. So I'm about to jump off right now. My girlfriend's waiting for me. But like, share, subscribe on YouTube and all your other podcasting platforms. I'll put a link somewhere in the description box or in the whatever you think you call it on Facebook, so people can link on. Also too, my conversation with Dr. Jacqueline Sherman will be out tomorrow around 7 a.m. You guys have a wonderful evening. Happy Turkey Day. Happy Indigenous People Day. And if there's some other sayings, sorry I missed them, but appreciate it anyway. Y'all take care.